There's more evidence that the virus pandemic is causing more severe and lasting damage to the American economy, with millions of jobs permanently lost. I mean, the number of unemployed people classified as permanently losing their old jobs climbed by 345,000 in September to a 7-year high of 3.8 million, according to seasonally adjusted numbers from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. I really wanted to make a video on this topic, guys. With the election coming up and all the stimulus talks negotiations, I strongly believe that looking at the economy from the point of the view of the American worker, at your point of view. To me, it's just not a number, guys. We're talking about real families out there that are hurting and suffering right now, and we need more help from our government right now. Unfortunately, women are taking a disproportionate hit from COVID-19 related financial difficulties. Women in minority communities have been hurt the most by this pandemic. The latest job report shows that women lost more jobs than the country created overall. 865,900 women have had to drop out of the workforce compared to 216,000 for men. Now, out of the women who dropped out, 324,000 were Latinas and 58,000 were Black women. So guys, women are on the front lines of economic turmoil as this pandemic sweeps through our economy, and they're finding it's having a major impact on household finances. Although nearly half of Americans were living paycheck to paycheck before this pandemic started, the fallout is affecting women disproportionately. Women are likely to be more on the forefront of treating the sick. 75% of healthcare practitioners are women, according to the World Health Organization. Women are also losing their jobs at a higher rate than men because they tend to be overrepresented in the sectors that shelter-in-place orders have hit the hardest, such as retail, food, and hospitality. And since women are the primary breadwinners in 54% of American households, the pandemic's impacts on women's earnings closely affect the economic fate of all those households. The problem directly affects households. Over 75,000 women participate in the labor force, and they are the primary breadwinners in 40% of American households. In other words, guys, the pandemic's impact on women's earnings closely affects the economic fate of many, if not the majority of American households. Now, there are several ways to help households that have lost income during this difficult time. Here are some of my suggestions. Understand your household budget. This is one very helpful step in building an emergency budget. Begin by getting an accurate picture of your existing household budget. How much money do you have coming in, as well as all of your recurring and variable spending that's going out? It's so important, guys, that the accounting is complete. Your accounting should include quarterly or annual payments like insurance or subscriptions as well. Now, the next step is to find places to save based on this full picture of income and expenditures. So all households should evaluate your expenses through the lens of must-haves and nice-to-haves, so you have to know the difference. For example, some households can save money by canceling or pausing auto contributions that you're not using, like commuter expenses for people who are working remotely or not working during the pandemic, as well as subscription services and memberships. Similarly, if your household is facing cash flow problems right now, you might consider only paying the minimum due on debts right now. Instead of keeping with an aggressive debt payoff plan, it may make sense to just make the minimum payment. Another thing to consider is the pandemic-related resources that many companies are offering right now. Many mortgage banks, credit card companies, and car insurers are offering pandemic relief measures in place for customers. The next thing I recommend is to build an emergency savings fund. Now, I know this one may seem like a broken record, but it's so very important, guys. So after you reduce your spending, the next step is to focus on building or rebuilding an emergency savings fund. Now, a good way to start is by setting a small savings goal. For example, put away enough money to cover a flat tire or some other expense. Now, after achieving this goal, the next step is saving up a month's worth of expenses, and then ideally you want to save 3 to 6 months of expenses. So consider automatic savings or automatic deductions from your paycheck. This is a great tool for building an emergency fund. Another very important thing to do is to regularly monitor household finance. To really keep a handle on household expenses, it's important to get very proactive about your financial health, especially by monitoring your credit scores and credit reports. Now, luckily, there are several tools available out there for checking credit. One of the biggest risks to credit scores is missed payments or bills sent to collection collection. So for households that are unable to make important payments, it's vital that you reach out to all of your lenders or landlords before missing a payment to see if it's possible that you can work out a payment arrangement. Now guys, as a very last resort, you may need to consider loans and or a credit card. Now this is for households that don't have enough emergency savings to see them through economic hardship. It might help to consider a borrowing option, but you always want to consider lower interest choices such as lines of credit or installment loans that might be available. Again, shorter term needs that can be paid off reasonably quickly can be financed on a credit card, but again guys, this should be done very carefully and sparingly as credit card interest rates are often high. Again, this option is for the most extreme circumstances. Now if your household is unable to pay all of your bills, it may be necessary to pause retirement contributions, although I would say again, this is a last resort. It's still best to leave all of your retirement accounts untouched. Early withdrawals from retirement accounts can trigger penalties and tax consequences. Now note that under the CARES Act that passed, individuals impacted by the virus pandemic can access up to $100,000 from your 401k and IRA without penalty. Even so, it's a good idea to talk to a tax advisor before making any withdrawals, and I recommend that this is a very last option. No one knows how long the pandemic or its financial ripple effects are going to last, but it's important to be proactive and preserve your cash flow for now. Regardless of current household income and circumstances, the key ultimately is being prepared and knowing the tools and resources that are available out there to help you. If you found value in this video, please be sure to hit that like button and share this video with others on social media. It goes a very long way in helping to support and grow this channel. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell as I'm posting valuable new information every week. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.